welcome back. Welcome back to the English broadcast of the League of Legends Pro League Week 6, Day 5 of the Spring Split. Today is the day of away games, as we'll be visiting Hangzhou, as you can see on the screen right now, and Chengdu later tonight. Today will also feature many of our middle-of-the-pack teams, which include Team WE and OMG, who were not so long ago on your screens as the LPL representatives for Worlds and Rift Rivals. So we'll see if today they can make more steps to try and regain that 2017 form. Our first match of the day will be in the LGD arena, as you just saw. My name is Richard Polscam. I'll be joined alongside Clement Chu. How are you doing today, Clement?
I'm doing fine, and I'm super hyped for patch 8.4. We're going to see 4 new teams challenge the adaptations on the patch.
Yes, we will. Patch will be a very big thing for the LPL. We saw 1 day of play already on that one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings and see how the teams are shaping up as we start to make that playoff run now in the end of Week 6. So right at the top, you can see Snake 8-2 still. The Snake Pit is still taking names, and right behind them, EDG 7-3. On the opposite side in the Eastern Conference, however, Invictus Gaming 10-1 now on a 9-series winning streak, and alongside them, Rogue Warriors at just 8-2.
Small correction right there. IG are currently in a 10-match win streak.
That's even
right
better.
Now. Yeah, we do have to commend themselves from making that distance away from the pack. If you want to watch one team in the LPL, IG are the team to watch. 100%
looks like they're going to be making their run towards the finals in the Spring Split 2018. But let's take a look at today's matches, as it will be Team WE taking on LGD 6-5 and 3-7 respectively. And then later tonight, Chengdu in the arena of OMG. They'll be taking on Jingdong Gaming.
We have 4 teams that are trying to find their form still. They have a lot of rotating roster moves. So this is really about adaptation to the patch and hoping that they can find a new form.
Oh, 100%, because we have some of these teams definitely on struggle streak when you look at OMG, but that's later tonight. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our first match, Team WE against LGD in this one. And yes, there's been a lot of swap-ups in terms of roster. Of course, WE, they have Magic, Celestial, those guys coming in. On the opposite side, we have some other sub-ins today. However, focusing on Team WE, they've had players who are definitely stepping up. You look towards Xie in the mid lane, that guy is just out of control.
We have to talk about him because he is the hero player for WE right now, really holding the entire ship together. His damage shares are insane, and what he does to the team is that he makes all those big plays. The Baron steal we saw against Jingdong, the pentakill we saw against Suning, and he's also really bringing a focus to his team. The newcomer Magic has been gaining his footing by constantly ganking this lane for Xie. He's also so patient on the play. Even when his side lanes are losing, he doesn't try to force the plays himself. He just sits back and waits for his moments to carry.
Yeah, it's exactly that. The fact that he's pretty much the rock on the team, like right here, you see him in the bot lane going 1 versus 3 right now. The fact that he's able to do this means the team of TOP can't end, and WE are basically kept in the game because Xie is just going ham.
Yeah, pretty much. He's probably the best mid laner in current form, and if you have to watch one player, I'd say it would be Xie. He is the highlight reel of the LPL currently. Damage-wise, he's still second on the team. Mystic is still the main damage source, but you have to recognize that he's won 10 MVPs out of 15 WE wins. Really the hard carry for WE.
But also it's those intangibles, right? You can look at the stats and you'll be like, oh, well, Mystic does more damage, but then when you actually watch the players with your eyes and you see that Xie is like literally going 1v5, penta-killing people, stalling the entire game by himself, it's those plays that really separate Xie from the rest of the pack.
And we do have to talk about what WE's current form is, because they're still not a very strong early game team. They're actually one of the bottom tier teams. Side lanes are still losing quite heavily, and it really has been about Xie putting them back inside the game with his hero plays. And if you talk about the ban picks, I think Xie has a huge importance there. We just saw on the graph 11 champions played, and you also have to remember the Kassadin. 9 kills per game on that champion, and that's not even really strong meta pick right now, so a lot of pressure being put on the other team to try and contain him.
Yeah, exactly. Try and beat down the middle lane. And when you look towards LGD, it's just like, well, what tools do they actually have to play with? Well, you look towards the top lane, obviously. Jinnu has had really some blinders of some games recently, and we're on 8.4, so it seems like his champion pool will actually start to benefit now, especially against 957.
Definitely. 957 is the one I worry the most on for WE, because if you look at his champion pool, he's been playing Gnar in game, playing 55% of the time. Hasn't touched the Camille once. That's a recipe for disaster in 8.4. On the other hand, if you talk about Jinnu, the way LGD has picked up games is through Jinnu. He's able to pick on these top laners that only play tanks. Let me, Mouse, Moyu, multiple solo kills in all of those series, and that led to an LGD victory. So there is a method for success for LGD, however, the odds are quite slim.
Sure, but it's pretty much that, right? Like, he plays those carries. We like to see that Riven come out of him as well. Pretty much the only player in the LPL who's picking up the Riven currently. Also plays the Fiora, so it's all about those carry picks going to top lane. We'll see how bone placing all of that will try and affect him in the top lane, because it feels like everyone has to pick that up right now.
Definitely, that's the #1 pick in the resolve tree. If you're going resolve tree 100%, you pick up the bone plating. However, the reason I say it's a slim chance for LGD is because they're a team that, the way we describe them is they're a crowd of people walking outside of Metro Station. They have this general direction that they're going, and that's skirmish and team fight, but there's no cohesion within that team. We see the plays that they make. Yuki cutting off Jinu on the Scion
He's
ultimate.
the guy when you go up an escalator and then stand still, and you're like, what are you doing? That's pretty much what we saw right there.
And also just Amy going in again and again while his team just sits back and watch. This team has very obvious shot calling problems, and it doesn't seem like they're on the same page at all.
Yeah, and that will be a problem because they are definitely changing up their roster today in the bottom lane. We're not going to see Imp today, it will be FGY. So this guy, obviously we have seen him before in the 2018 season, also saw him in 2017, but it's a change right now, and I'm not sure if this will necessarily benefit LGD. We'll have to see on the field.
Yeah, we do have to mention that the last time FDY was subbed in, it was because Imp was ill. So maybe it's the same reason this time around. But this rookie player, he has been turning a lot of heads in his debut. We all remember that big Zaya game where he was up against Jackie Love, able to put up really big numbers. And our kind of prediction for him coming in and subbing in from Imp right now is just maybe that he can draw a couple of bans and put pressure on Imp to perform better.
Maybe, but we'll look towards WE with 957, Magic, Shie, Mystic, and Celestial. So still Magic and Celestial subbing in right now for Condi and Ben.
Yep, the two newcomers really shoring up their teamfight presence. Celestial, great on that Alistar, and Magic, our most gank-heavy jungler in the LPL currently.
Yeah, focusing around Shie and trying to get him rolling, and you know Shie is definitely a good person to put your eggs into a basket for, because the guy will do some serious work as the game goes on. So we'll see if he can do it again today against LGD, as it will be Jinu, Amy, Yuki, FDY in the bottom lane alongside PYL.
Yuki definitely solidifying his position as the premier mid laner on the team. We haven't seen Nanju for quite a while, and this should be his patch because he is a big Taliyah player.
Yeah, we're seeing more Taliyah. We're seeing a lot of changes in the mid lane as well in terms of how itemization has also changed up. So we'll see if that actually benefits, because it will benefit Yuki for sure. Definitely. But then he's also facing down Shie, the big power point of WE. So it's just like, well, yes, it benefits him, or does it benefit Shie more to the point where it's just going to equalize again?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we've heard a lot of junglers on this patch talk about what's really shaping up, because the removal of Tracker Knife, a lot of fights are revolving around that 2v2 duo in the mid and the jungler. And to be honest, I don't think Magic has really been tested against other junglers just straight up. He's been more about focusing on the lanes rather than himself and getting that contact strength against other junglers. So it's a big question for me if he can survive Amy, because Amy really likes to brawl with other junglers. That's a very obvious contrast in styles.
Well, if the jungler's just trying to survive, then what's the game plan? Does Shie just have to push forwards into the mid lane? Like, does it have to be mid lane driven?
I would say W just have to wait on the late game a little bit. They do have a bit of a power trough in the early phases, but late game, come team fights and come cohesion, they're just a much better unit than LGD.
Yeah, try and get to that phase and then completely demolish LGD in the late game. Let's see if that's the way it pans out, as we are going to send it over to our casters to get us into game one.
Thank you, guys, and we are set to get into Game 1 between LGD and Team WE, the Sleeping Dragon versus the Diamond in the Rough, the sum of their parts, or at least they used to be greater than the sum of their parts, but now they've got two new parts, and now we've got to look at that sum again and say, does the math add up for Team WE?
Yeah, we have to reevaluate Team WE just a little bit more now. We don't know what their ceiling looks like with the two brand new players, and this is something that we will discover as time goes on. They're up against the side that we know could be better than they are. We always always know they could be better than they are, but they're never better than they should be by any means. And right now they're underperforming, and that's reflected through draft into the game.
Exactly, and now we get into that draft. Of course, LGD with only 3 wins under their belt. They had us excited in the first 3 or 4 weeks. I say us. It was primarily me that was
pretty
excited.
Much you, yeah.
But now they're returning back to their older troubles that are starting to plague them. This is the chance, though. FDY starting in the bottom lane to replace Imp, and WE facing across from them. They are actually going to respect that very powerful Jinnu in the top lane. Camille and Riven banned away. I thought Pulse was joking, but then WE made him tell the truth.
I mean, for what it's worth, they banned the Riven, they banned the Camille. Camille can flex to Amy as well if need be, though I would expect it still goes over to Jinnu. Jinnu is one of the big carries for LGD, and what I like from Team WE so far is they've locked in the Sion pretty much immediately with no hesitation. And that says, well, pick whatever carry you want, Jinnu. I am going to absorb it.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether or not 957 can hold down the fort on the likes of this Sion, because as we just heard from the analyst desk, when LGD sees success, it's because Jinnu is able to find solo kills in the top lane. Sion, not exactly susceptible to that, though LGD might be looking for their carries elsewhere. Azir locked in for Yuki, and that's Caitlyn locked in for FDY, where WE, they just go for the lovers duo in the bottom lane.
And as they should, Xayah rises in priority on patch 8.4. Where there is Xayah, there is always going to be Rakan. So currently, with WE's team composition, they've got one big tank, one big member of the team that can soak up damage in the front line. And FDY, the first time we'll see him play Caitlyn, WE had a response there already. I was surprised that they didn't go for the first pick of the Caitlyn to take that away, but FDY seemed to have this more higher propensity towards Xayah, and they'd be very comfortable playing Caitlyn into it. So ultimately, WE have just chosen what they would like to play the most by saying, you can have the Caitlyn.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how FDY can perform in this bottom lane, knowing that he's going up against the world semi-finalist of Mystic on lately one of his favorite champions. That Xayah has been huge for him towards the end of 2017 and now coming into 2018 as well. So he will have his work cut out for him. Across from this, though, we're still looking for the mid and jungle of Magic and Xie. They already know they're up against an Azir, so LGD get the chance to pare down that pool just a bit.
Opposite side, of course, is the top lane priority for LGD, where it's mid lane for Xie. So the second ban phase is just reflecting where the carry points are for each respective team. And this is the big risk that you take by not picking your laners in your carry lanes this early into the draft. Note that WE, they picked their top laner first, now they ban away more top laners. LGD first picked their mid laner, and now they ban away the Ryze. This time, of course, the Nara on the other side, but they ban away focus points from the big carry of Team WE. Each respective team's carry wants a late rotation, wants the most optimal draft for themselves possible for the composition, but they're losing the best champions.
So this Gnar actually jumps out to me as a bit odd. Gnar would traditionally go into the top lane, but they've already got the Sion. Now, we've heard rumors through the grapevine of Sion being played in the mid lane. Do you reckon we could see WE pull the old switcheroo now that they're also further banning out another carry top laner from Jinnu?
It's not really a surprise to see a Sion go to the mid lane anymore, Dom, just based off how it is able to absorb. Now, what I would say is that for Team WE, putting a Sion mid lane could be really bad. Like, it could actually be very bad for them with how much work Xie has to do in terms of damage output. He averages 30% of his team's damage, generally wants to kill his laners, and wants to pick himself a more optimal matchup. Now, Sion is okay into Azir as well. You can soak, you can push, you can control the 1v1. But why not kill him instead?
Exactly. Cassiopeia locked in for Xie in the mid lane. The skill matchup of the two Shuriman laners, as that's Cassiopeia versus the Azir. Of course, as an answer, though, we did get to see that Vladimir now locked in for Jinnu in the top lane and falling all the way to the bottom of the priority for LGD. It's poor Amy, and despite the Rek'Sai being picked up for Magic, there's still plenty of junglers left open for him.
Don't you worry, he has the pick of the litter. No one cared about little old Amy as he's left to pick last, but he still has every jungler that you could possibly want available to him. Zac, Sejuani. I mean, they picked Rek'Sai on the opposite side. They weren't even afraid of that at all. Pick whatever you'd like, Amy.
Yeah. Now he's got that Sejuani locked in for himself. And now we've got some engage, we've got some tanks, some good scaling on the Azir and that Vladimir. LGD seems like they've just got a nice, well-rounded composition. WE, though, seems like they might have their finger a little bit closer to the pulse of the 8.4 meta. That Sion, so strong. Cassiopeia, massive damage on 8.4, and the very powerful duo lane of Zion Rakan.
Yeah, certainly. WE's complete team composition. It has the tanks to frontline, it has the damage to output between both carries and even the Rek'Sai to contribute a little bit. They also just have scaling in terms of damage as well. Their team fighting looks very solid with a Sion and Rakan to engage and to go forward, so multiple avenues, multiple options, a lot of very strong front to back League of Legends that you could see from Team WE. And we'll get into the Rek'Sai in a little bit because it's something that I do find very interesting on patch 8.4 and beyond with the lack of vision available. LGD on the opposite side, however, their team composition is very strong. Caitlyn outranges the Xayah, so they need to close the distance. The Rakan was important, but Alistar is also very good at counter-engaging or headbutting people away. LGD's whole team composition is still very good at team fighting with the Sejuani with the ranged engage. Vladimir for backline damage. They've got access to that backline, and they've got an Azir to protect and scale up as it works with the Caitlyn.
We'll have to see if LGD can actually execute in front of their fans, though, as they've had a rough few weeks over these past few months of the split. Initially, we saw them really spiking upward with Imp leading the charge for his team, but he's not here on stage today. We saw him in the room with the players, so perhaps he might come up onto the stage a little bit later. This could be a chance to allow FDY to try to get some stage time. Because what better way than to test your mettle against such an excellent AD carry as the likes of Mystic? But that being said, we're looking for some big carries to have to step up today. We know Xie has got a track record of really doing work for WE, but we turn our attention to LGD, and the biggest question rises, will Jinnu step up, or will somebody else on LGD have to bear that burden?
Well, Domi has to step up. Jinnu just has to be the carry for the team. There's a lot of trust placed in him for the side 2 carry. They give him the Vladimir. All of these carries bend away from him. Everyone knows how LGD are going to play this one out. And it's about, can they empower him to carry? Because it is his role now. It's his responsibility. But it's also everyone else's role and responsibility to let him do that. To give him space or to give him teleport opportunities. Whatever they decide is the plan. It is on all of LGD to enable this to happen, or they'll just be completely tossed to the wayside. Sion will hold him in lane, and then nothing will eventuate.
And that being said, LGD will have to see if they can identify whether or not they can set up Jinnu correctly on the likes of this Vladimir, or if 957 and the rest of WE are going to be keeping him locked down. Because the crowd is ready. You can see that despite LGD's suffering in the win and loss at 3 and 7, still plenty of folks showing up in the arena as they are hyped to support their team in the local stadium of Hangzhou. And WE, of course, on the other side, trying to reclaim that glory that brought them all the way to the World Semifinals. That said, it appears that we have now loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between WE and LGD.
That's right, we are on. Game number 1 is active. It is live, Dom, and we've got ourselves a very important question that we have to ask first. In a battle between LGD and Team WE, it's which solo carry can actually carry harder? That's always going to be the question here. It's Xie against Jinnu, though they are in completely different lanes. It's the TF that can steal Barons away, can get pentakills on Kassadin, and can honestly do some crazy things for Team WE against the Riven, against the carry player in the top lane, who has everything banned away from him in this first game, because even WE know where the carry lies for LGD. And whilst they are the places to carry, you actually have to look at the rest of the team for LGD specifically, because they are a big problem. The last time that we saw them play, Amy went 0-14 in the entire set, and the bottom lane went 3-22.
Yikes.
They died so much. Like, honestly, if you're Jinnu, there's nothing you can do if your jungler has died that many times, your bottom lane has died that many times. You just have to kind of let the game happen and try your hardest. This time around, it'd make a lot more sense to be topside focused, to get the Vladimir going just a little bit earlier, Sion's very good at soaking and diffusing, but not against early pressure.
That said, this is patch 8.4, and with the removal of Tracker's Knife, that significantly reduces the amount of vision that junglers can place and maintain. If we know LGD are going to try to prioritize topside, because again, it is Jinnu, it is the strongest lane for LGD at this moment, could that be an avenue that they try to pursue? Say, hey, we know he's up against a Sion, but we know that WE will have less vision in the jungle.
It certainly could be. Of course, junglers are a big place to put some focus towards now, and how mid laners influence the junglers is always the next step there, which is where I would say that WE actually have that slight edge, perhaps. The communication isn't all that necessary. It's just that Xie should be able to control the lane. Right now, it's a Cassiopeia against the Nazir, so Xie just has control. Strategy aside, though, that does make sense. I think the WE could be prioritizing keeping top lane alive with vision, whereas LGD could be prioritizing denial of vision on the top side of the map, perhaps to unlock Jinnu just a little bit further. But so far with the jungle start, Dom, it was a Smite Vladimir for the Sejuani leash. If WE know this, if they've been able to track Sejuani at all, then they know the current focus is actually on the bottom side.
We can already see Amy racing down to this bottom half of the map. Magic did just now clear his blue buff and is invading to check out that top side jungle to see what camps are still up. What's the timing on the likes of this Sejuani? Who should I be telling to be afraid of the gank? Already you can see Xie pulling back towards his turret. Xayah and Rakan, Mystic and Celestial already pulled back against their own as FDY and PYL claimed that early lane advantage at level 1.
Yeah, there's a couple similarities between each respective composition, and that is that their bottom lane wants priority. Xayah Rakan very good at controlling at level 1, at pushing minions in, and actually being able to just control the pace of the lane. And if you can stop a Caitlyn from hitting level 2 with any kind of advantage, from pushing you in with any kind of tempo advantage there as well, then you've been doing very well for yourself. But because they leash, whereas LGD choose not to, they have the Smite Vladimir, they start on the other side of the rift, WE are set behind from the get-go. And as a result of that, Caitlyn's pushing. They have complete control.
Oh, Xie. Oh, he landed the poison. Decides not to go in for it, though. Good eye, keeping track on Yuki's summoner spells. I didn't even see the heal until just after he backed away. I would have gone in, and I would have died.
She also didn't have a lot of mana, Dom.
Yeah.
It wasn't really possible. If you take the heal into account, he wouldn't have had enough damage to execute.
Here we can see PYL actually turning onto Mystic, trying to tag some damage in before Celestial can get back from a warding run. But look at the vision that LGD have already set up on this bottom half of the map. Wards around Raptors, wards and Krugs, which were started and half cleared by Amy, so they'll eventually fade away.
And Sejuani's using that vision that he has right now, knowing that Rek'Sai isn't on the bottom side. Perhaps he's hovering in the top side of mid lane. That's possible. They don't have vision there, but Amy wants to escort his mid laner into a free clear at the moment, try and reset the state of this middle lane. Rek'Sai is hovering just in case.
Yeah, good thing he is. Magic is right there too. Sees the whole wave pushing in. If Xie had the opportunity to freeze that just outside of the turret, Yuki would have been in trouble.
And that's interesting actually to note from LGD and how they were playing around that decision. They could have just left Azir in the 1v1, acknowledging that Xie wasn't in a position of extreme power, so to speak. He may have been able to control the Azir, but they wanted to reset the tempo completely. They wanted to give him the free recall and not have an extra wave of awkward farming before that case. But they also didn't know where the Rek'Sai was. All of their vision was set on half of the map, and that half doesn't reveal vision absolutely. And so they respect it. They bring him mid just to be safe. Before the wave even crashes, he's there to escort the minions in.
And this is something that Yuki has struggled somewhat with in the past. His laning phase has not been spectacular when you compare it to the likes of some of the massive names like Xie, the opponent that he's facing across from today. So perhaps LGD, they might be saying, all right, we know Jinnu can scale in the late game, but perhaps as a bridge, we'll focus our attention on the bottom lane, on the mid lane, because we know Jinnu's going to be able to hold down by himself. Yeah, he's trading with Yuki here, but soaking the minion wave is close to an even trade.
He does have the Rek'Sai hovering around. Of course, lots of trades on the Celestial right now, who should be able to survive.
Stun is ready for PYL. Amy catches up, but no stun is procced. Meanwhile, Yuki is going to catch the wave that has just now pushed into the mid lane as Xie steps forward and places a forward ward of his own. So, again, that jungler priority for the two teams.
And notice the way that Xie is also playing in the middle lane. He's hovering around the bush where they know that there's no vision from Yuki. He's playing very coy. Doesn't actually show that a Rek'Sai is there, but shows that if there is one, you can't fight with me right now. In this case, there is a Rek'Sai. She is right there, and they are trying to keep Amy away.
You actually cannot fight right now. It's No ifs, ands, or buts, but now LGD now pushed into their bottom turret. That gives a bit more flexibility for Mystic to catch this minion wave. The both of them at 57 CS. Once the missed. Never. I spoke too soon. He missed that one by 1 health. Hate it when that happens.
Every time you mention someone last inning, they'll find a way to miss it. It's usually a cannon dog.
It's almost always how that works. In the top lane, we haven't seen too much between Jinu and 957. There was an early roam on the minimap.
He wants it.
Oh, that was actually the ultimate as well, but Yuki sidesteps with his vision and trades back with some Sand Soldiers.
Neither mid lane are using summoner spells. Neither mid lane are really overcommitting themselves, but the ultimate was used by Shio. So in the end, that was a 1 trade from the mid laner of LGD. And all he's doing is trading back. He's reacting to the very aggressive moves.
Slash knockup. He immediately turns Magic back in, chases forward. Shie goes low and gets first blood. Meanwhile, the chase Magic trying to get over the wall as he was pushed way too far forward. But Amy's going to let him go.
Yeah, Magic just gets in there first. Is able to get some damage off onto Yuki. And each mid laner does use their heal this time around. Yes, Shie has to use the flash to distance himself. Yuki saves the summoner. He knows that he was dead in the eventual outcome of that trade. So WE come out ahead. They give a kill to their mid laner, the exact member of the team that wants it.
Looking back at those carries, LGD, we know Jinu can do work, though we can currently see FDY and Yuki receiving attention from Amy. But WE, putting their eggs in the basket that has been proven to be successful. Shie stealing Barons, finding pentakills, and now trying to mimic Knight's success on Cassiopeia that we only saw just yesterday. Already, WE are off to a good start. 700 gold advantage, and Mystic on his very comfortable Xayah, plus a call to let him scale up a bit more.
Yeah, he's very comfortable farming in the bottom lane right now. FDY seems to be less aggressive than that of Imp and PYL when they play as a duo, which is not a great surprise to be saying that out loud, that's for certain.
Almost every duo is less aggressive.
Yes. However, that does mean that you can go towards a cull if you're Mystic in the bottom lane. He didn't start with the cull, it was his second item of choice. In fact, the late recall from him means that that cull will be super delayed as to when it actually ticks over. But if the laning phase bottom continues as it is, if WE can just hold river control and focus on mid lane some more, that's not a bad choice in the end for the side of Team WE, or for Mystics specifically.
Yeah, it does create an interesting conversation about how laning dynamics have changed as a result of the less vision in the jungle in professional play. You and I were talking about this before a little bit, about how you choose your bottom lane based on unlocking your support so that your support can place vision for the tracker knifeless jungler now.
Yeah, it's also in part why mid-jungle priority is so important. It's about unlocking a lane and utilizing that lane to get vision control. AD carries like Caitlyn are good because they help you siege turrets, push down lanes, and they're a very long-range AD carry for if you can do neither of those things. Xayah on the opposite side is very good at surviving ganks, at pushing lanes as well if you're able, and Rakan does enable that very much so. And then being able to unlock your support by getting turrets down. That's the point of the bottom lane, being able to siege. But to get there as well, there's other opportunities, like utilizing your mid laner to just have control. You don't necessarily need the turret to be down to utilize your mid lane, which is why the 2v2 in the early stages of the game is so important. Whichever mid laner can be unlocked can then go towards bottom lane, threaten the turret, and suddenly your whole map is available to still place, I'd say, similar vision to that in the past.
And this is exactly what we see right here. WE, though Celestial was a bit slower on the roam than PYL, he's there to follow up just a little bit longer, which allows Magic to clear out not 1 but 2 control wards. With Shie just a bit slower on clearing the wave, means that Amy gets to shadow in along with Yuki and replace those control wards. So again, though we don't have Tracker's Knife, it is still a battle about vision. It is still a battle about knowledge.
Just because there's less vision doesn't mean the battle won't still be surrounding the vision there in the first place. It just means that control wards actually rise in priority. The junglers will be keeping their yellow trinket as well for a longer period of time to compensate for the lack of Tracker's Knife that you've got. It also means that placement on those wards is much more valuable to have them last for the full duration, and zombie wards may actually rise in priority too as a result of all of these things.
Ooh, Yuki could be going down here. Miasma for the slow. They follow up with the flash dive. Magic does not go in, but he still gets swept back. The kill onto Celestial. Finally, he turns it around, dropping Yuki in this 1-for-1. But Amy locks down the stun. Jinu teleporting in,
trouble.
And 957 is racing forward. 957 not going to make it there in time, and Magic dies to the overextension from WE.
Yeah, the teleport from Jinu will get there first. WE definitely committed towards a fight in the mid lane. They tried to get an optimal combo off onto Yuki, the flash charm followed by the knockup, but he hesitates. He waits just that little bit of time where the knockup doesn't go off. That lets Yuki ult, lets Yuki flash away, and suddenly WE lose themselves a trade in the end. What could have just been a 1-for-0 clean trade, maybe the teleport from Jinu forces a 1-for-1 in the end, but they get a summoner advantage. LGD just get exactly what they want as a response to the aggressive moves from WE and the mis-execution.
1 kill on Jinu, 1 kill on Yuki for that Azir. Though he's been pressured quite a bit, he's still only down about a single wave of CS, so keeping even with Xie, who's been playing out of his mind. And Jinu is trying so hard to keep pace with this Sion, who is absorbing everything that is being chucked at him, which so far has been rather minimal. We haven't seen Amy go up to that top half. We haven't seen PYL with any cheeky roams or Yuki heading up there.
No, they've avoided the top lane, and that's still a good thing for Jinu in the end. He's scaled up a little bit. He's gone towards the Eye of the Watchers as his first item, the Vladimir standard. It's not a full Klepto, Mancy Vladimir, or anything cheesy like that. The Unsealed Spellbook was the way to go.
That was interesting. PYL with the control ward to deny what could be a potential
ward.
Dive?
Yeah, so that's always the teleport ward, right? You can see Celestial placed another one just outside the bush. Magic is sitting on a ward himself. He doesn't know it, and Amy is getting an objective as a result of this. LGD have committed themselves fully to preventing a dive from happening in the bottom lane, and Amy, instead of being there physically to prevent that by saving the turret, trades an objective and goes for the focus around the top side with Jinu. Herald can break a turret, so it can be a trade in the end if he gets it sometime this year.
Sejuani, well known for her speed at taking the Rift Herald. Of course, Flail's only so effective when the eye is on the back.
Here's
but there's
the teleport anyway.
Yeah, they still see this coming, and it is still happening. WE trying to follow up. They tag on the PYL. Aren't able to catch FDY. He drops a headbutt. Heal has been used by FDY, and eventually they wear down the likes of that Alistar, finding that kill and the turret. But Herald is ready in Amy's back pocket.
And as you do, LGD, full acknowledgement that there was a control ward placed to prevent a teleport ward. You watch them place another ward, and you still step up to defend the turret. Get dove for it. These things happen to LGD, and only to LGD for the most part. They die. The turret still falls, as you would expect as well. And whilst the trade was there for the Herald, well, now WE get a kill, and they were looking towards the Drake at the very least to try and win the trade. He's letting 957 recall.
Magic is having a real difficult time getting out of there. But like you said, 957 is able to find a kill with a first item anti-Vladimir device, as it has so been dubbed here in the LPL.
He didn't actually go towards the Abyssal Mask first.
Yeah, I know. He's strictly playing anti-Vladimir.
That's interesting. I like that he skipped the rest of the Abyssal Mask because he was already controlling top lane.
Yeah.
If he was going poorly, he may have upgraded the Null Magic Mantle to a Negatron Cloak, and ultimately, he may even go towards Merc Treads before he finishes the Abyssal Mask and use the Null Magic Mantle there now, just to get some extra team fight utility and some movement speed for the Scion. But yes, the anti-Vladimir is in effect, simply because we're the only ones that play Vladimir. So we have a greater purpose for the item, Banner Command. Locked in by Scion. Jinu's life is now officially miserable.
Yeah. That said, it does look like WE are committing to the fully swapped map. They send their duo top, pushing in a wave and taking a lot of damage out of this turret. Lots of forward wards placed as well. Though 957 can't exactly teleport, they're keeping an eye on Amy to allow Mystic and Celestial to continue to push up, which means if they see Amy topside, 957 can drop his banner and push bot side.
Yeah, exactly. When he places the banner down, it also unlocks him to roam around as well. Jinu, whilst he has the teleport, has teleport in advantage for himself, has to deal with that minion. And it takes him so long to clear the minion that honestly, 957 can walk up river, he could threaten mid lane with just the ultimate, and it means that mid lane may be unlocked to go top lane as well without the teleports. And WE can not directly, but indirectly match the movements of LGD through the Scion having banner.
Yeah, that said, very intelligent macro play from WE to put LGD on the back foot and challenge their decision-making. This has been one of their weaknesses for such a long time. If you put LGD just a little bit behind and face them with a difficult decision, it has always been so difficult for them to recover from these sort of situations. Traditionally, they resort to the likes of Chaos, but WE if they even find themselves falling behind, yeah, they actually turn into a fight instead. Xie over the wall is going to flash to escape, but that's a stun. Oh, Magic body blocks the Bola in order to protect Xie and allow him to start pumping out some damage afterwards. They kill Yuki and scare Amy back.
And every single time LGD look towards Xie, they look towards a mid lane gank. Perhaps now's the time that it works for us. No, there's definitely a Rek'Sai haunting and stalking around behind the Sejuani. They fully knew that this was about to happen. The second Yuki tries, Xie is able to get the stun down. He's able to follow that one up with the kill. And Magic was always there to compensate, to keep his mid laner alive. WE made that choice. They said, come at me, bro. We'll take the 2v2.
And so far, LGD were not able to keep pace. The top tier 1 is broken as 957 rotates mid after dropping his banner bottom. Jinnu is forced to respond. His teleport is ready, but still, WE with huge map priority are slowly but surely chipping away the map. Finally, the timer on Herald forces it down mid lane, but already 2 members of WE are here to defend. If they can get the auto attack. Was that a flash?
You calm down, mate. Bloody hell.
He really wanted it. Oh no!
You ever just flash onto a Cassiopeia W and you're like, ah, damn. Never saw it coming.
Who would have thunk?
What a melon. Oh, that was wonderful.
Don't you call PYL a melon?
He's a melon.
He is an intelligent melon.
I'm not saying melon's
the puppet master.
I never called a melon a bad thing.
Okay, all right. So then,
melons are great.
Is a melon capable of winning the game for LGD, though, or will they have to resort to the pineapple of Jinnu in the top lane?
Well, fair enough. I guess he's just another fruit. Well,
exactly.
Yeah. No.
The whole team is big old basket. All right, Ocean Dragon being taken by Magic. This is WE finally taking the first dragon of the game. 957 is swapped back up to the top side of the map. And it looks like the duo of Xayah and Rakan are just setting up some vision into the bottom side jungle of LGD.
Yeah, mid lane's the only place really left for Team WE on the easy objective front as we're getting closer to the Baron as well. You want to break that ideally around the 20-minute mark, or if not, just a little bit before. Banner will help in closing that one out if you have a cannon wave and you bring the Scion in. They've also got a lot of threat when it comes to engaging, even with dives. Rakan going forwards. Rek'Sai can dive turrets very well because he has the ultimate to drop aggro. And a Scion is just a Scion in the end as well, so dying is actually a welcome outcome for any Scion because you get a second chance. They can threaten dives very, very well. And right now is the best opportunity for them to do so. And it looks like they're setting it up already by putting the banner of command minion into the top lane.
Already been used, though we can see Yuki is on that side of the map. As he's backing away into the tri-bush, we'll see when 957 decides to make the rotation as Xie is pushing bottom. You mentioned those side waves. But that mid-tier 1 is being safely defended by FDY, who did go for a static shift first.
Going for Jinnu right now.
Oh, yeah. That's the very early Sanguine Pool. Ghost and Flash now used by Jinnu. And he races back to base.
Yeah, he tried to use the puddle to dodge the knockup, but it still hit him.
Yeah.
So he had to use Proto Belt and both summoners to get out alive. Now WE, they threaten mid lane, but while you were defending mid lane, we're ganking your bottom lane. We're getting your structures.
WE, they set themselves up in one of 3 locations they could choose to rotate towards and push. And the one that they collapse on is the bottom lane. Tier 2 easily broken. Still no response from LGD. Amy and Jinnu finally there. FDY, and look at how deep PYL is. He's right behind them. He goes in, doesn't get the knockup, finally turns onto Xie, but already his jungler is dead. A Celestial on the Rakan finds the huge engage with a great quickness to follow up. Xie chases down PYL, sinks his fangs into the cow, and the inhibitor turret has been broken 20 minutes in on the mark.
Yeah, LGD, they endeavor to make a play. They show some resilience in their strategy here, and they didn't want to let WE keep going and keep pushing. But by doing so, they enable WE to push even further. They lose a team fight straight off the bat. And Alistar, whilst it can flank decently well, and you'll see it here, doesn't hit Mystic, and Mystic's target immediately shifts over to what was meant to be a tank of LGD. Celestial, during all that time, crowd controls the carries. Jinnu does not have summoners. He can't step up. He can't hit the backline. The backline of Team WE is diving the Alistar as he tried to engage 5 seconds earlier in the ult war off.
4-0-1 on Xie as a result of this. A single kill on Mystic and a single kill on 957. I mean, look at the numbers this guy is putting out on this Cassiopeia. Even the Oblivion Orb, everything is coming up Xie.
certainly is. The Morellos could be looked towards, as well as the other one that you activate. The other, I forget its name. It was right there. It was right there, Dom.
He's completed the stab of the Seraphim too. We're just going to leave that there.
The orb and press the button and you move quick. That's it.
They've completely forgotten about the mid-tier 1 turret because they don't need it. They're just playing in the side lanes. He's
not helping.
Actually got his computer right here. It's amazing. Let's start the clock and see how long we can drag this out. Because WE, now they're playing around the Baron. They've got an inhib with super minions pushing in the bottom lane, a banner of command to use in either mid or top. That's the one. Mid or top. And with the Baron on the map and a pushing wave, that is a lot that LGD have to worry about. And they've already shown they've got difficulty worrying about a single lane, let alone 3.
Well, yeah, they've already got 1 to worry about bottom lane in the next 30 seconds. Juno's going to have to attend that one down there, and the Banner of Command's able to be used to generate a tank minion on a non-cannon wave. So WE are just getting free structures, getting free objectives, and they don't have to continue to threaten here. With the mid lane outer gone, access to Baron is significantly easier, and their control ward line is already set up. They've got a Cassiopeia, they've got a Xayah, so they destroy the neutral objective if they choose to go for it.
And they've also, like we said, got that Cassiopeia for shredding down the Baron. You can see there's no vision in the pit. Amy is racing forward, but 957 and Celestial zone him away before he even places down a ward. Not that he had one to begin with.
PYL wants to get a ward in, but it's just gone.
Yeah, he finally sees it, but not the super late smite by Magic. Baron secured now by WE. 8,000 gold, 23 minutes in.
Super strong lead for WE with that Baron being taken as well. With an Azir with a Vladimir on the composition of LGD. Nothing can stop the cannon minion from just barreling down a lane and pushing forwards, especially with one inhibitor already gone, because someone has to deal with that. Caitlyn has to now be in the front line, and that's against someone that will absolutely kill her in a Cassiopeia, in a Scion, in a Rakan that can engage on her. This is very dire straits for LGD.
It really is. The fans hopefully going to be continuing to cheer on their team here because they are going to need this moral support after the game 1 that WE is looking to put down onto LGD. This is just clean and swift, decisive play out of the Team WE roster. And the mid-tier 2 left completely undefended. LGD decide not even to risk it and back up to the inhib. That said, Banner of Command almost back up. Morel and Namicon is going to be completed for Xie.
They have 2 Banner of Commands now as well. Celestial
do,
picked one up on the Rakan. PYL, the tried and true trick of I am going to have the largest flank of all time. Makes an attempt to wrap around and find WE, but honestly, if you're Team WE, you just welcome that option. That is a great idea, PYL. The 6th man of WE is flanking with us.
All right, next banner is up, but this isn't a cannon wave. So it will just crash in. The last one did get pushed into the turret by LGD, so it is successfully cleared and defended for now, but WE used the window to sidewave.
Yeah, actually I think the best way to play this one out, if you're WE, the Caitlyn does have a strength through preventing siege, and that's through the cupcakes that you can place down. The 5 traps to cover an entire lane entrance. I actually think the best way to play this one out is you have 2 Banner of Commands, go to 2 lanes. I don't really think that LGD will be able to team fight you even if it's a 4v4. And I don't think that a Vladimir and Azir can stop a Scion with a Baron-empowered Banner of Command cannon.
Yeah, now we've got another Baron-empowered cannon in the top lane. It's back on cooldown for Celestial, so we'll see which lane he decides to head towards as he's racing towards his next Banner minion.
But Caitlyn can't do it either. No one can step up to the Scion. He will just protect his cannon, and it will take the turret. And then meanwhile, mid lane, now the PYL and FDY show up here. You'll absolutely see Team WE step forwards, less afraid of traps that are starting to run out.
Whoa, less afraid of even diving. They immediately pick off Yuki and annihilate him. PYL goes in to try to force the disengage, uses the Unbreakable Will, but that just frees up the Banner minion to be spawned by Team WE, and they are tearing apart the base of LGD. Their banner up top will finally fade away, but here comes the next minion wave, looking to take now another inhibitor.
And it feels very clinical from Team WE right now. LGD have no response. They've drafted themselves into this hole, but more importantly, they've played themselves into a hole through the early game with the 2v2 jungle mid-duo. This sets them up for failure, and WE just walk all over them. Every decision that they make makes complete sense, and LGD's just doesn't have a response.
Yeah, no, they're trying to defend. We can even see WE taking it safe. There was another inhib as it respawned in the bottom lane. They decide not to overextend with the rest of their Baron, not even to risk the chance of the game getting turned around and head back to base. 11,300 gold advantage for Team WE, 26 minutes in, 2 super minion waves pushing in time after time. And still no response from LGD. PYL is looking for the flanks. FDY is trying to get more items, but he's a full item and a half behind.
So fun fact, Jinu's now recalling on a control ward and a regular ward that PYL had just placed down. I believe the ultimate purpose of that is some kind of flank, just to at least have vision of the area.
Okay.
Most people will see a control ward and they will assume that it isn't actually warded once they kill that.
Yeah, look at all of the pings now going down onto that brush. You can see Mystic stepping forward to sweep it out as WE are being so diligent and clearing out the vision for LGD. Jinu's even holding on to Ghost right now because he knows the chance of finding a teleport flank is slim to none, and Slim left town. WE now pushing in. Next banner minion is going to buy some time as they are staggered in between the waves. One now pushing up into that mid lane. Oh man, this is just not looking good for LGD. They are trying, but they are not succeeding.
They're certainly doing well in controlling vision, though they'll never be able to fight for vision. They're just placing more and more, trying to dwindle away all of the control wards that Team WE have got, but they just have so many that it doesn't matter in the end. What I like from Team WE right now is that they're routing in minions from top lane, they're bringing in minions from mid lane, and they're going to corral all of them in so they can pressure the inhibitor as LGD have to deal with their own Nexus turrets being a threat. This is very creative and the right move from Team WE. They don't want to navigate through Caitlyn traps.
Oh, they found Jinu on the side. He tries to keep them hemmed out, but single-handedly, he can't absorb that much damage. PYL is the target. Ulti flash to escape, but he has to run back to the fountain because there's nowhere else to run to. With Jinu and PYL gone, the front line missing, the inhibitor is quickly and easily broken. Double super minions, 28 minutes in, WE clinically pulling LGD apart by the threads.
And now PYL has no flash, has no ultimate. If he uses a combo to go forwards, he will surely die. They require nothing short of a miracle as the super minions start to crash. They do not have tanks.
There's the engage. PYL's the target, and he gets destroyed. A great follow-up from Celestial. Gets a 3-man and a huge ultimate from Xie. Locks them down, but here comes Jinu. He's going to try to get some damage onto the tanks. They shield up to protect themselves from the damage. But with 957 and Magic low, it's up to Mystic. He's tanking the turret and stepping through Sand Soldiers. Decides not to follow up on that engage. As so far, only PYL has fallen, but FDY is healed back up to full, and Mystic steps up. He's going to miss, though. Will trade over his support for the enemy AD carry, but a fresh 957 is back. He's going to chase up. The train slams in, and LGD's time is running out as the Nexus is going to be targeted by WE, and they are set to take game 1 over LGD.
The Nexus will eventually fall, Dom. They're just going to play with their food a little bit more and try and get some kills, but a clean Game 1 victory to WE.
The fans in Hangzhou must be torn to see such an excellent performance of League of Legends from WE, but not from the home team of LGD. Not quite able to match that macro decision-making in just about any way. And now, WE. Yeah, as we got into the game, I kind of mentioned WE were known as the team that was greater than the sum of their parts. Well, bringing in 2 new players, we have to reevaluate the math. I think this equation is looking rather favorable for them.
Let's just do some quick math. Stop. Xie's good. He's just really good at League of Legends. He's able to be a major point of focus for the team. I actually think that, you know, patch 8.4 being so mid-jungle duo focused opens up a wealth of opportunities for Team WE to shine. And I cast my mind back to when Xiaohu was an absolute god for RNG, and he was able to hard carry the team. Well, I do think that Xiaohu was so much more impressive in how he could do something in a meta that wasn't surrounding him. Now Xie was doing that and now gets a meta that's able to empower him further. So he's able to get the kills. He's able to just have Magic sit in his lane or just sit to the side of his lane and not do anything. And constantly WE will be able to get victories unless the 2v2 jungle mid duo from LGD can shape up.
And even look at the damage. Amy struggled to put out 4,000 over the course of the game. FDY at 4.5. Mystic 4 times as much damage on the likes of that Xayah. Xie huge on that Cassiopeia. They lost not a single turret that entire game 1. WE holding their ground so confidently.
And I know a lot of people probably look at FDY and say that he underperformed compared to someone like Imp, but I really don't think that was the problem for LGD at all. I would honestly say it was the rest of the map, from the mid and the jungle duo specifically, as to how WE won, and that was a spillover that came into the bottom lane, which just makes FDY look like a non-factor.
Well, we'll see if that's going to be the case. It's up now to our analysts to determine what exactly happened in Game 1.
Thank you, Dom, and honestly, we do feel very similar to that sentiment, and we're going to take this one back to Champion Select and talk about these compositions and what the teams are looking for. Let's start with LGD. Clement, what were they looking for?
So the first thing you have to notice is that they're picking up a very late scaling composition with the Azir and Caitlyn, basically double late game carries, and what they're thinking is, well, we know Team WE. They like to sit back and do nothing. So we're going to one-up them and pick this Gathering Storm combination. And if you look at W's comp, I actually wasn't very satisfied with their composition because they only had one point that could really force the issue early game, and that is the Cassiopeia and Rek'Sai combo, grounded into knockup. And LGD, frankly, they also understood that point, but they lost the mid so hard. And every time Amy and Yuki were actually there, it wasn't like Yuki was overextending, it wasn't like they couldn't read the play, but they just failed the execution horribly.
Yeah, it's that, and also the fact when you look at Magic and you look at Shea, we said this pre-game, where is Magic going to go? Well, he's going to go mid lane because that's the one power point on the side, and also when you look towards Magic and how he's played so far, he generally trends towards ganking more than anything else, Clement.
Yeah, he's a very gank-heavy jungler. If we look at his stats, he has the most gank attempts in the LPL per game, so 3.65. Really likes to focus the mid lane as well, and I think it's part of the reason that Shea has been empowered, and it's also a new direction for WE in patch 8.4. All the junglers are talking about it. You have to fight 2v2.
Right, so we'll set the stage. So LGD, they've identified there's only one power point on the map, there's only one way that W win the early game, and all LGD need to do is reach late game. 2, what actually happens in game? We're about to find out, because when we look towards the middle lane, this is the third gank that happens into the mid lane. Amy even knows it's coming, and it still doesn't work out for them.
Yeah, they go on the aggressive here, but it's already spotted out by Magic. Magic, with that sonar sense, already knows Amy is across the wall, and they're able to counter gank that perfectly. Personally, I feel like Amy, a lot of blame does have to go to him this game. He was completely out of sync with his mid laner. The first gank around, they ulted different people, resulting in a very awkward situation. And also him taking Herald when they didn't have mid control, that was an easy go-ahead for the bot lane. Instantly, when WE saw the pop-up text, it's like, Herald is down. Okay, I guess we go bot lane.
That's the go signal.
Exactly. And they just 4v2 that so easily. So LG lost control of the majority of the map before their composition could come online.
Yeah, and it was just that was the major problem. It was a spillover out of mid lane, triple gank into mid lane, into bot lane, and then the game essentially from there, that's when you just end the scrim. It's just like that, we're done. Because we were unable to execute on the situation that we knew was coming from the side of LG. That was the problem coming into that game. Now, that will be... Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. Who do you think the MVP of this game is? Clement, I'll give you 3 guesses.
Let's see. It's either going to be Shea or Magic.
There you go. You've already got it. It's Shea taking our MVP in this one. This will be his 11th, I believe, MVP. Indeed, on his Cassiopeia, 30% damage percentage.
Ooh, and 5-0-3 score rate, 80% kill participation. That's the big number here. He has been leading the entire team in terms of kill participation. So without him, nothing much really happens on WE. And for teams that are going to face him, it's about shutting this man down.
Yeah, he's always going to be the point on the team that you have to look towards if you're WE and any team playing into them as well. But it just seems very scripted, you know, from Champion Select. And we said this before, but it's like LGD, they've identified it. Now it just needs to come on to that execution. Because to be fair, this was a much better draft that we saw from LGD this time around.
It's the best draft we've seen from them pretty much all split. Comprehensive, a team fight oriented draft that they can execute very well. It's a stand back and do nothing draft, but still, like, Amy with the rest of his team, they're just not there. They're on different planets or something. They don't communicate at all.
And that's
really
pretty much it, Clement. It has to really just be the focus heading into that second game. For now, we are going to take a short break, so stick with us. We'll be back right after this.